Hi guys, welcome back to Fanspo podcast episode 11. I'm Mohid hosting today, and we will be ranking the top 15 point guards for the 2024-2025 season. We are joined by special guest Lakersfan today.
What's up, guys?
Yeah, this is TK.
Okay, let's get right into it. To start, we will be giving our 11th through 15th ranked point guards.
And just keep in mind this is actually projecting, not like from last season, by the way.
Okay, at number 15, I've got Jamal Murray. At number 14, Darius Garland. Number 13, LaMelo Ball. Number 12, Cade Cunningham. And number 11, Drew Holiday.
I've got DeJounte Murray at 15, Cade at 14, James Harden 13, LaMelo 12, and Darius Garland 11.
I went with Jamal Murray at 15, James Harden 14, Cade Cunningham 13, Drew Holiday 12, and LaMelo Ball 11.
Okay, very similar or different opinions here. I like that.
The first thing that stands out to me was TK was very high on Darius Garland. What was your reasoning for putting him up there?
Yeah, I feel like he's going to have a bounce-back season this year. I think he was injured a lot last year. I think that really affected his play. Because I think the year before he was hurt, like he was very good. I think he's going to be even better than that. I think with his shooting and his rim finishing, he's going to get much better now that he's healthy. So I think he'll be much better.
There was also a lot of disagreement on James Harden's ranking. What are your guys' thoughts on his upcoming season with the Clippers now that Paul George is gone?
I considered he was like my biggest honorable mention, but I didn't put him on your. The point guard is just this position's just way too stacked, and I leaned with some other guys over him.
I think James Harden, a bigger role, will look a lot better. I think he was in a very unfamiliar role last year with the Clippers. I think he was playing with like Paul George and Kawhi. So now going back to being that second option, maybe the first option, I think he'll look a lot better. Still not as good as he was like before, like in the Philly days maybe, but he'll still be, I think, much better than he was last year.
Yeah, I agree with a lot with what TK said. He was still very efficient last year with the Clippers, and I think in an increased role, we're going to see him being more dominant of a scorer like he was in his previous years. He's obviously not going to be as good as he was in like Houston, but he's still, and I think he can be an easy 20-point per game scorer on very good efficiency. And I think, especially if Kawhi Leonard goes down with injuries, there's going to be a lot of reliance on him to step up this season. I think he will perform.
Yeah, you brought up some great points right there. I still feel good about my 11 to 15 though.
Okay, next up, who do you guys have at number 10?
My number 10, I've got Damian Lillard.
I've also got Dame at 10.
I've got De'Aaron Fox.
Oh. Why is that?
Fox was really, really tough to rank for me. He's like, I don't know, he had a really interesting season last year where we saw his main strength was usually like getting to the rim in his previous years, scoring around the rim. This year we saw a bit of regression in that, but his outside perimeter shot took a big leap up. I think we're going to see his perimeter shot, like his 3-point percentage kind of go down a little bit, but I do think he's still going to be a great point guard. I think the other guys above him are just going to take that like next tier up, I guess. And I think it really just depends on how he ends up fitting next to DeMar DeRozan. They're bringing him in, who's obviously not a great floor spacer. So we'll see what ends up happening there.
Yeah, actually, I think Fox started off the season very well. I think like the first 2 months he was averaging 30 points per game. Like he was like one of the best players in the NBA at the start of the year. But then he went to he got injured and then he went into a complete slump. He was terrible for another 2 months. So it's gonna be interesting to see how he looks like this upcoming year if he's healthy.
Yeah, I picked Dame at 10 because I'm at a point. But like I said, this position is insanely stacked with stars, and I get the argument totally for Dame because he's gonna have a full year of Doc Rivers, and he'll be next to Giannis for another year. But when Giannis goes down, I don't think Dame is good enough to be a number one option on a winning team.
Yeah, Dame is super interesting. He's one of those guys who I'll talk a bit more when I get to my ranking on him later, but I think he's in for a big bounce back season this year. Next, who do you guys have at number 9?
I've got Tyrese Maxey.
I've got Maxi as well.
And I also got Maxi.
Nice.
All of us agree here.
Yeah, I think in the third option role, Maxey with PG and Embiid, Maxey might take a little bit of a step back.
I actually think that if he's the third option, it'll only like improve his like impact as a whole. Like I think, though I actually think he's the second option scoring wise but regardless, I think he'll be like much better playing alongside two other guys who attract all that attention, getting him much better looks from all areas of the court. So I think he'll have a pretty solid season this year.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what TK said. I think his box score numbers will go down, like in terms of just like scoring. He's not going to score as much. I think efficiency-wise, he'll be like, even higher than where he was with Embiid. We saw when Embiid went down, his efficiency numbers tanked. But I think they will be a lot higher, especially because Embiid will inevitably probably end up going down with an injury at some point. How major it'll be, we'll see. But I think Maxey can really, with PG, take over that team and still make that 76ers team a really, really scary team, even without Embiid.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. I do think his box score numbers will go down, but I could see him shooting relatively close to 50, 40, 90.
All right, next, number 8.
I've got Trae Young.
I've got De'Aaron Fox.
And I've got Dame. First thing that stands out to me, Trae Young down at 8. That's very bold.
Yeah, I see the argument for sure, but maybe looking back, I could probably put Fox at 8 and Trae at 7. Spoiler for my 7th, but yeah, Trae, I'm not the biggest fan of him defensively, and defenses are gonna be like on him a lot more, and yeah. I think he might even like demand a trade.
Yeah, I think Fox. I think it's fair. I was kind of debating him or Maxey for at 8. But I think the defensive leap Fox made last year, I think, does get him the edge here. And yeah, I think that's probably a fair ranking for him.
Yeah, Dame, he's a guy who's been very vocal on as a guy to take a big step forward compared to last year. We saw he was just in a really tough situation last year. Middleton went down in the middle of the season. He was dealing with some personal stuff. And then obviously he was traded right before the NBA season started. So he didn't have a full offseason to prep with Giannis and the rest of the team. And then they switched coaches mid-season completely. They go to Doc Rivers, and we see the Bucks as a whole, their team performed a lot worse. Dame individually didn't have that much of a drop-off, but still, it was just he was put in a situation where his efficiency numbers and stuff like that were just going to tank. And we saw him in the playoffs when Giannis went down. He played very well in that series against Indy. And I think he's proven that he can act like if Giannis does go down, I think he can be still, I don't know if he can be an elite number 1 option, but I think he can still be a serviceable number 1 option. And I think next to Giannis, he's bound to have a year closer to where he was in Portland than where he was last year.
Yeah, he did bring up some solid points right there.
Okay, next, number 7.
Like I already said, I got De'Aaron Fox.
You got Tyrese Halliburton.
I also got Halliburton.
Wow, Trae over Halliburton? That's an interesting take.
I'm really high on Trae. I think I'll get to it a little bit more when we talk about him, but his offensive peak is just so high. arguably one of the like top 5 best offensive players in the league when he's on form. And I think the Hawks team around him will make it an interesting situation, but he's still one of the best playmakers in the league, one of the best pure scorers in the league. Obviously, he has defensive issues, but it's not like Halliburton is an amazing defender either. And I think Halliburton, we've seen him have a ton of inconsistencies in terms of his output, especially like throughout that midseason mark, where he was like, his form just tanked after an amazing start to the season. And I'm just not sure if we can trust him to consistently be as good as Trey.
Oh yeah, I don't think Halliburton will be better than Trey, but I still think he's going to have a much better season than he did last year. I think he's kind of gotten a bit underrated a little bit after he kind of struggled a lot after the injury. But I think we're going to see something more closer to what he did at the start of the year now that he's fully healthy. Maybe not exactly that level of production because that was like arguably top 3 point guard caliber stuff that he was doing early in the year, but like he'll still be, I think he'll improve his like overall offensive ability, scoring wise, and his playmaking still like the best in the NBA in terms of point guards, and just overall setting the offense up and all that type of stuff. So I think he's gonna have a great season next year.
Yeah, I've got De'Aaron Fox here. I think in the pick and roll with Sabonis, or not really pick and pop, but like the Kings are gonna be a great offense after adding DeMar DeRozan. He'll take pressure off De'Aaron Fox, and it'll just lead to Fox being much more efficient. I don't think his scoring will go down that much, and his defense will still be there.
All right, number 6.
I've got Tyrese Halliburton.
I got Trey Young.
I've also got Trey.
Yeah, we already discussed Trey versus Hallie. I've got Hallie at 6 because I think coming off an Eastern Conference Finals appearance, and the Pacers, they could have won 3 out of those 4 games. I think they're gonna be poised to start off strong. They're gonna be they're gonna be a top 4 seed in the East, and I think it'll be because of Hallie. I could see even Hallie being an MVP candidate, a dark horse pick.
Yeah, I think Trey has gotten very underrated for like the last ever since they made the conference finals, and the year after that they underperformed. But like because overall just his ability to he should be able to shoot the 3, get into the mid range, the floater, and his rim finishing all are like elite. Like he's an elite scorer, and obviously his passing is also one of the best in the entire NBA. Like his overall offense is just very, very good. Like sure he's not the greatest defender, but like I think that offense alone is very good. That I think it has to be top 6.
Yeah, I completely agree with TK here. I think Trey, he's just been one of the most underrated stars in the league these past 2 years. Just because the Hawks, they fell off a lot after making the Eastern Conference Finals, but he has individually been amazing. He's always been a defensive liability, we know that, but a lot of the other guards in this range aren't necessarily amazing defenders either, and I think that Trey has done enough to set himself above a guy like Halliburton, just consistently being one of the best offensive players in the entire. Let's have a number 5.
I've got John Morant.
I also got Ja.
I also got Ja.
Yeah, feels like a pretty consensus top 5 with the top 5 I'm sure we're all gonna have. Ja at 5 feels like the right pick. I just feel like he's a tier below these 4 guys, but a tier above the guys that he's above.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's gonna have a massive season in Memphis coming back from injury. A lot of people are kind of forgetting about him when they're trying to rank Memphis. I feel like he was legitimately a top 10 player in the NBA the year before this injury, and I think he's gonna come back. And I don't know if he'll be top 10, but I think he'll be like a top 15, top 20 guy. And I think he's easily proven that he can be a top 5 point guard.
Yeah, I think this will be like a redemption kind of season for Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies as a whole. I think they're gonna have a big season, and he's gonna be a huge part of that. Like obviously he's a elite rim scoring threat, and he's a good playmaker. He can good mid range shot. Like he can do a lot of stuff offensively, and I think overall he's gonna lead them to a top seed one of the top seeds in the Western Conference this year.
So Mo had said he was a top 10 player like 2 years ago. I'd actually argue in the non-games he played, he was playing like a top 10 player too.
Yeah, he was amazing before he went down. Obviously, he had the suspension earlier in the season, and he came back and he was just looking great. And then the injuries happened and kind of sucks. But hopefully, with the full off season to prepare, he'll come back stronger than ever.
Yeah, he hit a game winner in the first game.
All right, on to number 4.
Might be a bold take. I've got Steph Curry.
I got Jalen Brunson.
I also got Curry.
I am really yeah, this is a really, I'm sure it's gonna be a debate all season. Brunson versus Curry. I've got Brunson above him. But I think Steph, the Warriors are not gonna be as good as they usually are. And Brunson's gonna be on one of the best teams in the league. But I could also see Brunson being an MVP candidate, unlike Steph, who's getting older. He might regress a little bit.
Yeah, for me, I don't know if I see Steph taking much of a step back as a player. I think his overall archetype as a player, I think, is still more valuable than the guy like Jalen Brunson because he's still one of the best off-ball guys in the entire league. So I think that alone, I think, is very valuable as a whole. And yeah, he's still obviously the best shooter. He's a create advantages very effectively with still the rest of the rim. He's 3 levels scoring, and he's a competent defender too. So like, I still think he's better than Jalen Brunson even next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think Curry will still have an amazing season, be a borderline top 10 player, probably top 12. But I think that Brunson has, last season alone, he was probably a top 5 player in the entire NBA. And I think he's going to build off that. And I'm not saying he'll be a top 5 player again, especially with Embiid coming back from injuries. But I think that Brunson has done enough where last season he was better. I think this season he's now in an even better situation to continue to perform. And I think he's going to be easily a top 10 player in the NBA. And I think he'll be better than Curry.
Yeah, Brunson is, I already mentioned Hallie is a potential dark horse MVP candidate. Brunson's even higher on my list. I have the Knicks as the 1 seed as of now. That's another debate, and I think that's going to be a lot of Brunson just being a top 3 point guard in this league. No disrespect to Curry, though. I still think he's going to have a good season, averaging like 26 points a game and like shooting over 42% from 3. But I got Brunson at 3.
All right, on to number 3. You already mentioned it. I think this is pretty obvious who we have here.
Yeah, Steph Curry 3.
I got Brunson. Already kind of debated this. Same reasons I went for Brunson. He was an amazing player last year. He's only going to build off of that. Curry's going to have some natural regression, and the team around him isn't as great. Brunson's going to have another amazing year.
Yeah. I think we can agree on that, Moe.
All right, now on to number 2.
I've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
I also got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah, I also got Shai. It feels like an obvious pick.
I do know some people look as Shai is the best point guard in the league. I don't agree with that at all, though.
I do think it's closer than people think, but still, I think Luka's still better. But I think Shai has shown a lot of some incredible growth the last 3 years with his overall shot creation, and his defensive leap he took last year, I think, is very big too. And he's going to lead the OKC Thunder to being the best team in the NBA, and I think they are also the championship favorites, and he's going to be a big part of that.
Yeah, we all have Luka at 1, and I mean, Shai, amazing player. He's definitely a better defender than Luka. It's not even close. But offensively, Luka's just on another level. He's top 2 offensive player in the league, right up there with Jokic, and he can just take over a game offensively. He can score. He can play make. He can do everything you need in offense. And we saw he willed the Mavericks all the way to the finals. He had some amazing performances, and I think in the regular season, obviously he got exposed at times on defense, but there were times where I think he was able to be a competent defender, like not like an amazing defender, but like enough to like not be a negative.
Yeah, the Mavs also added like more shooters this offseason. Obviously, getting Klay Thompson, I think that's only going to improve. That's only going to make Luka even better. Like having another spacer who can provide more space underneath the basket, so he can for his drives and his ability to kick out open players. So I think he's gonna like he was so good last year. He might even be even better next year, which is crazy to say.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like this is like an ideal Mavericks team to build around Luka with. You've got 2 elite shooters in Kyrie and Klay, and Kyrie can do a lot of things himself offensively. And then you've got a guy who can stretch the floor as a 4 in PJ Washington, and then 2 lob threats and rim protectors in Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively.
Yeah, I totally agree. They're going to be one of the best offenses in the entire NBA. I still have questions about their defense when Luka, Kyrie, and Klay are all on the court together. I think Kyrie, we saw in the finals, he had some big off nights, and Luka had to handle the entire load offensively. And that's where the Mavericks really got exposed, because then Luka, he's obviously fatigued, playing an insane amount of minutes, having to do everything offensively. The Celtics were able to catch him defensively and just hunt him, and they were able to absolutely benefit off of that. So I think now with Klay, that takes some pressure off of Kyrie to not be that elite second option. He's still going to be an amazing second option, but he can have an off night, and Klay can step up and really help space as well.
Keep in mind, in the finals, he was doing all of that while playing injured.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thank you everyone for tuning in and listening. Thank you, Lakers fans, for joining us as guests today, and have a great day.
Anytime, man. Peace out.